The night sky above the alien world was dark, filled with two moons, one pale blue and one deep red, both glowing like eyes watching the land. The human explorer, Daniel, walked slowly across the rocky ground, his boots pressing into the dust of a planet no one on Earth had ever seen before. He had come here on a small ship, searching for minerals, searching for answers, maybe even searching for adventure, but he did not expect what he was about to find. The land was silent, too silent, as if the world itself was holding its breath. No animal moved, no wind blew, only the faint hum of the explorer's helmet filled the air. Daniel felt uneasy, but he kept walking. Suddenly, a strange sound touched his mind, not his ears, but his thoughts. "I have no arms, human." He stopped. His heart jumped inside his chest. The voice was soft, trembling, and filled with pain. It was not a normal voice, it was inside his head, as if someone was speaking directly to his soul. He looked around, scanning the shadows, but saw nothing. His breathing grew faster. Again the voice came. "I cannot care for my daughter. Help me. Be my husband." Daniel's eyes widened. He had traveled to many strange places, but never had he heard such words. Husband? Daughter? Was this some trick of the planet or some alien technology playing games with his mind? He raised his scanner, turning in circles, searching for life. And then he saw her. She was standing near the ruins of a broken wall, half hidden by shadow. A tall figure, her skin pale silver like moonlight, her eyes glowing faintly blue. She was not human, yet her face carried something familiar: fear, hope, and desperation. Most shocking of all, she had no arms. Only smooth shoulders, scarred as if once torn away by violence. At her side, clutching the fabric of her long robe, was a small child. The child had big dark eyes that reflected the stars, and she looked half-starved, trembling with hunger. Daniel froze. His hand moved toward the weapon on his belt, but the mother raised her head and shook it slowly. "Please," the voice whispered in his mind again, soft and broken. "Do not fear me. I am not your enemy. I cannot feed her. I cannot hold her. I cannot even wipe her tears. I have no arms, human. I need you. I need you to care for her. Be her father. Be my husband." Daniel's throat went dry. This was madness. He was just an explorer, not a hero, not a savior. Why would an alien woman ask such a thing from a stranger? He stepped closer, his eyes never leaving her glowing blue gaze. "Why me?" he whispered aloud, his voice shaking. She tilted her head, the moons casting light over her silver hair. "Because you came. Because you are here. No other will come." The child looked at Daniel with wide eyes, then reached out her tiny hand, fingers shaking as if begging him to take it. He felt his chest tighten. Something inside him told him to run back to his ship, to leave this strange world and never look back. But another voice deep inside whispered to stay. The ruins around them groaned as the wind finally returned, carrying the smell of ash and fire. In the distance, the sky lit up with a flash, as if a battle was happening far away. Daniel realized this planet was not safe. He realized this woman and her child were in danger. And now, by standing here, so was he. Still, he could not turn away. The mother's eyes glowed brighter as if reading his heart. "You think this is not your fight?" Her voice pressed into his mind. "But if you walk away, she will die. They will come. They will take her. I cannot stop them. Only you can." Daniel's hands trembled. He wanted to ask, who are they? Why is the child so important? But the words froze in his throat. His scanner beeped suddenly. Movement detected not far away. Someone or something was approaching. The alien mother's eyes widened. She pushed the child closer to Daniel with her body, her voice sharp in his head. "Take her."
"Hide her, please!"
"They are coming." Daniel's pulse raced. He could hear the faint hum of machines in the distance, metallic footsteps echoing against the stones. Whoever they were close. The child looked at him, her little eyes filling with tears, her hand reaching higher as if to beg, "Please don't leave me." In that moment, Daniel had to make a choice. Turn away and save himself, or stay and protect a child that was not his. His whole life he had lived only for himself. But here, under the two moons in the ruins of a dying world, fate demanded more. And as the sound of machines grew louder, Daniel finally bent down, his hand shaking as he took the child's tiny fingers into his own. The mother's blue eyes filled with light, and her voice whispered one last time inside his soul. "You are my husband now. Human. You are her father." The night roared with the sound of approaching danger, and the story of Daniel, the armless alien mother, and her fragile child had only just begun. Daniel's heart pounded as he carried the little girl in his arms, her tiny fingers clinging to his jacket with desperate strength. The alien mother moved quickly ahead of him, her silver robe brushing against the ground, her glowing eyes scanning the shadows. She had no arms, yet she moved with a strange grace, guiding him through the ruined streets of what once seemed to be a great city. The air was heavy with smoke, and in the distance the sound of metal machines echoed like the beating of a war drum. Whoever hunted them was getting closer. Daniel's mind filled with questions, but there was no time to ask. He only followed, holding the child, his every step uncertain but urgent. They entered a collapsed building. The roof broke and walls cracked, but the basement remained. The mother turned to him, her glowing eyes fixed on his face. "They will not search here yet." Her voice echoed inside his mind. "We are safe for a little while." Daniel set the child down gently. She curled against the cold stone floor, her eyes closing, exhaustion pulling her toward sleep. He looked at the mother, confusion and anger mixing inside him. "Who are you?" he demanded in a whisper. "Why did you choose me? Why did you call me husband?" The alien mother lowered her gaze. For a moment she was silent, as if weighing her words. Then her voice entered his thoughts again, soft but heavy with sorrow. "My name is Saria. I was once a soldier, a protector of my people. We lived in peace until they came. The machines, the hunters, the ones who want what they do not deserve. They brought fire to our cities, and I fought them. I fought until my arms were taken." Daniel's eyes widened. He had seen scars, but hearing her speak so calmly of such loss struck him deeply. "Why do they want your daughter?" he asked quietly. Saria's eyes flickered with pain, then pride, as she looked at the child sleeping beside them. "She carries a gift," Saria whispered into his mind. "Her blood holds the key to survival, a power my enemies cannot create. They will take her, use her, twist her, and build soldiers that feel no fear. If they succeed, they will conquer not only my world, but yours as well." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. Suddenly, this was not just about an alien family. This was about the galaxy, about Earth itself. He shook his head. "I'm just one man. I don't even know this planet. How can I fight them?" Saria stepped closer, her silver hair glowing under the faint light from above. Her eyes searched his face, and her voice pressed into his soul with quiet strength. "Because you have what they do not. Heart, choice, love. You took her hand when you could have turned away. That is why I chose you." Daniel's chest tightened. He looked down at the little girl. Her tiny chest rose and fell slowly as she slept. He had never seen a child so fragile yet so brave. Something inside him shifted, something he had buried long ago. The desire to protect, to belong, to matter. The silence was broken by a sudden crash outside. Metal footsteps pounded the streets above them, sparks of light flashing through the cracks of the ruined walls. Daniel tensed, pulling his small blaster free. Saria closed her eyes, listening with her mind. "Scouts," she whispered into him. "If they find us, they will not stop until we are dead." Daniel's grip tightened around his weapon. He had fought before, but never for something like this. For a moment he thought of his lonely ship, parked beyond the ruins, waiting for him to return. He could run, escape, leave this mess behind. But then he looked again at the little girl, her face calm in sleep, and the thought of abandoning her filled him with shame. He turned back to Saria. "If I help you, if I stay, what do you expect me to be?" Her eyes glowed brighter, and her voice rang in his mind with a power that was not just sorrow but hope. "Not only my protector, not only her guardian. My people believe that when one parent falls, the other must rise. You are not bound by blood, human, but by choice. If you choose, you are her father now. You are my husband. Not in flesh, but in duty." Daniel's throat tightened. The word husband felt strange, heavy, yet somehow right. He was not sure if he was ready for such a role, but he knew one thing. He could not walk away now. The sound outside grew louder, the machines searching, drawing closer to their hiding place. Saria lifted her chin, her glowing eyes fierce despite her weakness. "They are coming," she whispered. "And if we fall tonight, my daughter's gift will fall with us. Will you stand, human? Will you fight for her?" Daniel's blaster felt cold in his hand. He looked at Saria, then at the sleeping child. He took a deep breath. "I'll fight," he said at last, his voice steady. "I don't know what I'm stepping into, but I'll fight." Saria's eyes softened, glowing with relief. For the first time, she looked not like a broken mother, but like a warrior who had found an ally. And as the machines outside began to tear through the ruins, the three of them, an armless alien mother, her gifted child, and a lone human explorer, prepared to face the shadow of war together. The secret was out, and there was no turning back. The ground shook as the sound of machines drew nearer, heavy footsteps echoing through the ruins above. Dust fell from the cracked ceiling, and Daniel knew they had only moments before the scouts found them. He tightened his grip on the blaster, his heart hammering like a drum in his chest. Beside him, Saria stood tall, her silver hair glowing faintly under the dim light. She had no arms, yet her presence felt strong, commanding like a general ready for battle. Her eyes never left Daniel. "They are not many." Her voice whispered inside his mind, calm and steady. "But they will test you. If we fail here, we cannot run again." Daniel swallowed hard. He had fought raiders and smugglers before, but this was different. These were machines built for killing. His hand shook, not out of weakness, but because he knew the weight of what was coming. At his feet, the child stirred in her sleep, unaware of the danger creeping closer. The ceiling cracked again, and then, crash. A hole burst open, metal claws tearing through the stone. A sleek machine dropped into the basement, its body black and sharp, its eyes glowing red. The scout stood on two legs taller than Daniel, armed with blades and a pulse rifle attached to its arm. It scanned the room, locking onto him. Daniel fired first. The blast struck the machine's chest, sparks flying, but it kept coming. Saria shouted in his mind, "Aim for the joints! Break its legs!" He adjusted, firing again, this time hitting the knee. The machine staggered, its heavy body collapsing onto one side. Before Daniel could finish it, another dropped in, then another. 3 scouts surrounded them now, their red eyes glowing in the shadows. Daniel pulled the child close, pushing her behind him. He fired again and again, sweat dripping down his face, each shot lighting the dark room with flashes of blue fire. One machine collapsed, its circuits burning, but the others pressed forward without fear. Saria stepped into their path. Though she had no arms, her voice rang inside Daniel's skull with sharp commands. "Left, now right. Move back 2 steps." It was as if she could see the fight before it happened. Guided by her, Daniel dodged a blade, rolled under a strike, and fired straight into a machine's exposed joint. It screamed with a metallic screech before exploding into sparks. Only one remained. It aimed its pulse rifle directly at the sleeping child. Daniel's eyes widened. He leapt forward, firing desperately, but the blast came too late. The rifle glowed, energy charging for the shot. Then Saria moved. She threw her body between the child and the machine, her silver robe tearing as the pulse blast struck her side. She screamed, not in sound but in Daniel's mind, a cry of pain that shook him to his core. Rage filled him. With a shout, he fired again and again until the machine collapsed in a heap of burning metal. Silence fell, broken only by Saria's ragged breathing. Daniel dropped to her side. Her silver skin was scorched, her body trembling from the wound. She tried to stand, but he pressed her back gently. "Don't move. You'll make it worse." Her eyes glowed faintly, weaker now, but still filled with determination. "You fought well, human. You fought as one of us." Daniel looked at her wound, then at the child who was now awake, crying softly. His heart twisted. He had saved them for now. But how long could they survive against an entire army of machines? "Saria," he whispered, "we can't stay here. They'll send more when the scouts don't return." She nodded slowly. "There is a place, deep in the mountains, a hidden refuge where my people once gathered. If we can reach it, we may find allies, or at least time to breathe." Daniel helped her to her feet, supporting her as best he could. The child clung to his leg, her small hand warm in his. For the first time, Daniel felt something strange. He was not just protecting them, they were protecting him too. He was no longer an outsider. As they left the ruined basement, the sky above burned with distant fire. Ships moved like shadows across the stars, searching, hunting. Daniel realized then that he had crossed a line he could never return from. He was part of this now. Saria's voice came again, softer but steady. "You are my husband because you chose to fight. You are her father because you did not let her die. From this moment our lives are one. Together we will rise, or together we will fall." Daniel felt the weight of her words. It was not just survival anymore. It was a bond, a dangerous alliance born of blood, fire, and choice. As they disappeared into the dark wilderness, Daniel tightened his hold on the blaster. He knew more machines would come. He knew the war was just beginning, but as the little girl looked up at him with tear-filled eyes and whispered a single word, "Father," Daniel understood something. For the first time in his life, he was no longer fighting for himself. He was fighting for family, and nothing in the universe could make him walk away now. The mountains rose like jagged teeth against the night sky, their peaks glowing faintly under the twin moons. Daniel climbed the rocky path with the child in his arms, every step heavy, his muscles burning. Saria walked beside him, her silver robe torn, her body weakened from the wound she had taken in the fight, yet her eyes never wavered. She pressed forward with silent strength, as if the pain inside her was nothing compared to the danger behind them. They had been walking for hours, always listening, always watching the skies. Sometimes, far above, the black shapes of enemy ships crossed the stars, their searchlights sweeping the land. Daniel kept his head low, his finger never far from the trigger of his blaster. He knew that if even one ship spotted them, their journey would end in fire. Finally, they reached a cave carved into the mountain. Inside, the air was cool and damp, the walls lined with strange markings glowing faint blue. Saria guided them deeper until the sound of the outside world faded into silence. Daniel set the child down, and she curled up on a patch of moss, her breathing steady. He turned to Saria, his face hard. "You need to tell me the truth. No more secrets. Who are these enemies? Why do they want her so badly?" Saria lowered her head, her silver hair falling across her face. For a long moment she said nothing. Then her voice entered his mind, heavy and cold. "They are called the Kareth. Once they were flesh and blood like us, but they desired power beyond nature. They cut away their weakness, replaced their bodies with steel, their hearts with circuits. They are no longer alive. They are machines wearing the memory of life. They believe that only through control, through fear, can the galaxy survive." Daniel felt his stomach twist. He had seen ruthless enemies before, but this was something darker. "And your daughter?" he asked. Saria looked toward the sleeping child, her glowing eyes filled with both sorrow and pride. "She is the last child born with the gift. In her veins runs the power of the source, the light that once protected my people. The Kareth cannot create it, but they can steal it. If they take her, they will twist her gift into a weapon. An army of machines with her blood would be unstoppable. No world, yours included, would escape." Daniel's chest tightened. He stared at the little girl, so small, so fragile, yet carrying such weight on her tiny shoulders. She was not just a child, she was hope. Hope the enemy wanted to crush. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing in the cave. "So I'm not just protecting her. I'm protecting everything." Saria's voice came softer. "Yes, and that is why I chose you. Not for your weapon, not for your strength, but because you held her hand when no one else would." Daniel stopped pacing. Her words cut through him sharper than any blade. He had spent his life drifting from place to place, never staying, never belonging. But now in this dark cave with a wounded alien mother and her daughter, he felt something he had never felt before. Purpose. The silence of the cave was broken by a sudden low hum. Daniel froze. Saria's eyes widened. "No," she whispered into his mind. The child stirred, her small hands glowing faintly with blue light. The markings on the cave walls pulsed brighter, responding to her presence. Daniel stepped back, shocked. The girl's power was awakening. Saria moved closer, kneeling beside her daughter. "She cannot control it yet. The Kareth will sense it. They will come." And as if her words had summoned them, the sound of engines roared outside the cave. The walls shook, dust falling from the ceiling. Daniel rushed to the entrance, peering out. In the valley below, black ships landed, their lights slicing through the night. Dozens of machines poured out, their red eyes glowing like fireflies of death. "They've found us," Daniel whispered. Saria stood, her glowing eyes fierce despite her wound. "They will not stop until they have her. We cannot run anymore. We must fight." Daniel turned back, his blaster tight in his grip. His pulse raced, his fear rising, but so did something else. Anger, determination. The Kareth wanted to take a child, twist her into a weapon, and spread darkness across the stars. He would not let that happen. Not while he breathed. He looked at Saria. "You said I was her father now. Then I'll fight like one." Outside, the Kareth began climbing the mountain, their metallic footsteps shaking the ground. The red glow of their eyes lit up the darkness, growing closer with every second. Saria's voice entered his mind again. calm but urgent. Then stand, human, stand as husband, as father, as warrior. Tonight the shadow of the enemy will fall upon us. But if we survive, we may light the fire that can burn them all. Daniel raised his blaster, his jaw set. The child's blue glow spread across the cave, painting their faces with light. The enemy was coming. The fight was here, and in that moment Daniel knew. This was no longer just survival. This was war. The cave trembled as the Kareth soldiers climbed higher, their metal feet striking the rocks with heavy rhythm. Red eyes glowed in the darkness outside, dozens of them moving closer with every second. Daniel stood at the entrance, his blaster aimed at the shadows, sweat running down his face. Behind him, Saria leaned against the wall, her wound burning, yet her glowing eyes steady. The child sat on the cold ground, her tiny hands glowing faintly blue, the energy of the gift pulsing through her like a heartbeat. She was afraid, but she tried not to cry. Her courage cut through Daniel more sharply than any weapon. He fired the first shot. The blast lit the cave in blue fire, striking the nearest Kareth soldier. The machine fell, but another climbed into its place, then another. Sparks and smoke filled the air. Daniel gritted his teeth, firing again and again, but for each one he destroyed, two more appeared. "They won't stop," he shouted, his voice echoing through the cave. Saria's voice entered his mind, calm but heavy. "They will never stop. That is why you must choose. Stay and fight until death, or run and carry her gift to safety. Only one path will save her." Daniel's hands shook. He looked back at the child, her big dark eyes staring at him, trusting him. For a moment he felt the weight of everything. He could leave now, escape into the mountains with her, maybe survive long enough to hide her somewhere safe, or he could stay and fight beside Saria, knowing that fight would almost certainly kill him. The choice burned in his chest. He had lived his whole life for himself, moving from place to place, never staying long, never belonging. But now, for the first time, he belonged to something greater. The Kareth stormed forward. Daniel fired until his blaster overheated, smoke rising from its barrel. He grabbed a broken metal rod from the cave floor, swinging it like a weapon, smashing it into a machine's head until sparks exploded. "Go!" Saria's voice thundered in his mind. "Take her and go." Daniel turned to her, anger and sorrow twisting inside him. "And leave you to die? No." Saria's eyes glowed brighter, filled with both love and fire. "You are her father now. A father protects, even if it means leaving behind what he loves most." Daniel's breath caught. He looked at her, then at the child, and in that instant he realized the truth. Saria was ready to give everything, even her life, so that her daughter could live. That was what it meant to be a parent. That was what it meant to love. His chest tightened. He was not ready to lose her, yet he knew she was right. If he stayed, the girl would be lost. If he left, she might have a chance. The machines pushed forward, their blades slashing, their rifles firing blasts of fire into the cave. Daniel grabbed the child, pulling her into his arms. She clung to him, her small voice trembling. "Don't leave, Mama." His throat burned. He wanted to promise they would all survive, but he could not lie to her. Instead, he whispered, "Your Mama is strong. She will always be with you." Saria stepped forward, her silver robe glowing as the energy of the child's gift pulsed into her. For one brief moment, her broken body shone like a star, light pouring from her skin. She turned to Daniel, her voice soft inside his mind. "Go, husband. Protect her. That is your choice. That is your duty." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He nodded once, then turned and ran, holding the child tightly. Behind him, the cave shook with explosions. Saria's light blazing like a beacon against the darkness as she faced the enemy alone. The child cried into his chest, whispering her mother's name. But Daniel forced himself forward, each step a knife in his heart. He climbed higher into the mountains, his lungs burning, his legs heavy, yet he did not stop. He could not stop. Finally, he collapsed behind a ridge, the sounds of battle echoing in the valley below. He looked at the child, her small hands glowing faintly, her tears shining in the moonlight. He brushed her hair gently, his voice breaking. "I made my choice. I will keep you safe, I promise." In the distance, the glow of Saria's light burned against the night, then faded slowly into darkness. Daniel's chest ached, but he knew her sacrifice had given them one chance, one fragile hope. As he held the child close, the sky rumbled with the roar of more ships. The Kareth would not stop. They would hunt them across mountains, across stars, across worlds. And so Daniel made another promise in his heart. He would not only protect the child, he would fight. He would rise. He would make the Kareth pay for every tear, every loss, every broken world. Because now he was more than a wanderer, more than a man. He was a father, and a father does not run forever. The night burned with fire. The mountains shook as Kareth ships landed in the valleys below, their searchlights slicing through the darkness. Daniel crouched behind the rocks, holding the child close. Her little hands glowed faint blue, her gift pulsing with every frightened heartbeat. He had promised Saria he would protect her, but already he felt the weight of failure pressing down on him. Saria's sacrifice had bought them time, yet the Kareth were everywhere. Their red eyes shone in the night like a sea of stars, moving, searching, closing in. The child whispered softly, her voice trembling. "Papa said I'm scared." Daniel swallowed hard. He wanted to say, "I'm scared too," but he forced the words back. Instead, he touched her cheek gently. "Don't be afraid. I won't let them take you. Not ever." But even as he spoke, he saw the truth. There were too many of them. Running would not be enough. Sooner or later, the Kareth would find them. If he wanted to keep his promise, he would have to fight. He looked down at his blaster, its barrel scorched from the last battle. His strength was small compared to the machines, yet his will burned brighter than any fire. Saria's last words echoed in his mind. A father protects. Daniel took a deep breath, then turned to the child. "No matter what happens, you stay behind me. Do you understand?" She nodded, her big eyes filled with tears but also with trust. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed closer. Daniel rose from cover, blaster ready. Out of the shadows marched a squad of Kareth soldiers, tall and dark, their blades gleaming, their rifles glowing with deadly light. At their center walked a figure larger than the rest, its body black steel, its face hidden behind a mask of polished metal. Its eyes glowed crimson like burning suns. Daniel's chest tightened. This one was no scout. This was a commander. The commander's voice boomed across the rocks, cold and hollow. "Human, hand over the child." "You cannot win. Spare yourself pain." Daniel stepped forward, planting himself between the child and the machines. "If you want her," he shouted, "you'll have to kill me first." The commander tilted its head, amused. "So be it." The battle began. Daniel fired, his blast striking the nearest soldiers, sparks bursting across the night. The child cried out but stayed low, just as he told her. Daniel dodged a blast, rolled across the rocks, and fired again, taking down another. The mountain lit with fire, echoes of explosions crashing through the valley. But there were too many. A blade struck his side, burning through his jacket. He staggered but pushed forward, smashing his blaster into the machine's face until it fell. Another tackled him, claws tearing at his arm. Daniel roared, pulling a grenade from his belt and shoving it into the machine's chest. The explosion hurled him back, smoke filling the air. Through the haze, the commander advanced, its heavy steps shaking the ground. "You fight like a beast," it said coldly. "But beasts always fall." Daniel raised his blaster, but before he could fire, the commander struck him with a blast of energy. He crashed into the rocks, pain exploding through his body. His vision blurred. The child screamed, running toward him. Her small hands glowed brighter, blue light spilling from her skin. The markings on the mountain walls lit up, just as they had in the cave. The gift was awakening. The commander froze, its crimson eyes fixed on her. "Yes," it whispered, almost reverent. "The source lives. She will be ours." "No." Daniel forced himself to stand, his body screaming in pain. He staggered forward, placing himself in front of the child once more. His arms shook, his breath ragged, but his eyes burned with fire. "You'll never touch her." The commander raised its blade, ready to strike him down. Daniel braced himself, knowing this might be the end. But then, the child's light exploded. A wave of blue energy burst from her small body, blasting outward like a storm. The Kareth soldiers were thrown back, their circuits screaming as sparks erupted across their metal skin. The commander staggered, shielding its face, its crimson eyes dimming for the first time. Daniel shielded the girl with his body, the energy washing over him like fire and ice. When the light faded, the valley was silent. Broken machines lay scattered, their bodies smoking. Only the commander remained, kneeling, its armor cracked, its voice hissing with rage. "This is not the end, human," it growled. "We will return. She belongs to us." It vanished in a burst of black light, retreating with the speed of shadow. Daniel collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. The child crawled into his arms, trembling. He held her close, pressing his face into her hair. His whole body ached, but his heart blazed with fierce pride. "You saved us," he whispered to her. "You did it." She looked up at him with wide eyes, tears running down her cheeks. I was scared." He kissed her forehead, his voice steady. "So was I, but together we're stronger than fear." The night grew quiet again, but Daniel knew it was only a pause. The Kareth would return stronger than before. This was not victory. This was survival. Yet as he held the child in his arms, he made another vow. He would train. He would fight. He would rise higher than he ever had, because he was not just a wanderer anymore, he was her father, and no shadow in the universe would ever take her from him. The dawn broke over the mountains, painting the sky with streaks of gold and red. Daniel stood on the ridge, the child sleeping against his shoulder, her small breaths warm against his chest. His body ached from battle, his clothes torn, his blaster cracked, yet he did not feel weak. For the first time in his life, he felt unshakable. Below, the valley still smoked with the wreckage of Kareth machines. The memory of the fight burned in his mind, the child's gift exploding like a storm, Syria's sacrifice blazing like a star. But he knew it was not over. The Kareth commander had survived, and with it, the promise of war. Daniel looked at the little girl, brushing the hair from her face. "I'll keep you safe," he whispered. "I swear it." A sound broke the silence. Engines, heavy, low, unending. Daniel's heart tightened as he turned toward the horizon. A fleet of Kareth ships filled the sky, their dark shapes blocking the rising sun. Thousands of red eyes glowed within them. This was no small hunt. This was an army he could not run. There was nowhere to hide. If he fell here, the child would fall too. And if she fell, the galaxy would burn. The girl stirred, waking slowly. She looked at the ships with wide, frightened eyes. "Papa," she whispered. "They're coming again." Daniel knelt before her, resting his hands on her shoulders. "Listen to me. You are strong. Stronger than you know. But strength is not only light and power, it is courage. And courage means standing even when you want to run." Her lips trembled, but she nodded. Daniel rose, gripping his blaster. His body screamed with exhaustion, but his spirit blazed. He was only one man. But one man with purpose can fight like 1,000. The ships landed in the valley, the ground trembling. Out stepped the commander, its black armor rebuilt, its crimson eyes burning brighter than ever. Behind it marched endless rows of Kareth soldiers, blades gleaming, rifles glowing. The commander's voice boomed like thunder. "Human, you have delayed the inevitable. Give us the child, and your death will be swift. Resist, and you will suffer." Daniel stepped forward, his voice steady, his heart unafraid. "You'll never have her. Not while I live." The commander tilted its head. "Then you will die." The army surged forward. Daniel fired, each blast striking true, each shot a roar of defiance. He fought not as a wanderer, not as a soldier, but as a father. The machines fell before him, sparks raining, but more came. Blades slashed, rifles burned, explosions shook the earth. Yet Daniel did not fall. He stood like a wall, unbroken, unyielding. The child cried out behind him, her small hands glowing once more. Her gift pulsed with power, rising like a wave. Daniel felt it, warm against his back, steady and fierce. Together they pushed forward. His will, her light. The commander charged, its blade swinging down. Daniel blocked with his blaster, sparks flying, the impact nearly shattering his bones. He roared, striking back, firing point blank into the machine's chest. The commander staggered but did not fall. "You cannot stop destiny," the machine snarled. Daniel's eyes burned with fire. "Then I'll make a new one." The child's power surged, her glow spreading across the battlefield. The markings on the mountains lit once more, ancient symbols blazing with blue fire. The Kareth army faltered, their circuits screaming under the pressure of her gift. Daniel seized the moment. With every ounce of strength left in him, he drove forward, pressing his blaster into the commander's chest. "This is for Syria," he whispered. And he fired. The explosion tore through the valley, shaking the earth, filling the sky with light. The commander screamed, its body cracking, burning, then collapsing into ashes. The surviving Kareth soldiers froze, their red eyes dimming. One by one, they turned and retreated, vanishing into the darkness from which they had come. The valley grew quiet, the war drum silenced for now. Daniel fell to his knees, gasping, his body broken but his spirit burning bright. The child ran to him, throwing her arms around his neck. "Papa, you did it.
You beat them!
He hugged her tightly, pressing his face into her hair. No, we did it. You and me. Together. The wind carried silence across the mountains, but it was not peace. Daniel knew that Kareth would return. Their hunger would not die with one battle. Yet as he stood, the child's hand in his, he felt no fear. He felt strength. He felt purpose. He felt family. Saria's voice echoed faintly in his mind, soft and proud. Husband, father, hero. Daniel raised his eyes to the horizon where the sun rose once more, golden light spilling over the broken land. The fight was not over. The war was only beginning, but Daniel was ready.